Welcome everyone to my channel. If you've been here before, you know the drill, and if you haven't, pull up a seat, sit down. We are going to start cracking and talking about Crooked Kingdom, the second and final installment of the Six of Crows duology by Lee Bardugo. I am so excited that I've started this, cause I want to know if Injej, whatever her name is, it gets back to Kaz, because they're in love with each other and they should totally be together forever. Okay, needs to happen. So, I don't know if he's alive or not, so I can't say nothing. But if he's not alive, it's going to be like a lively parallel, because in the first book, a dude in the first person POV, I mean, not the first person, but third person, whatever POV this is. Okay, so you get a dude, right? In the first one, you got a dude, and he literally died within his own chapter, and he was never seen again. But he was mentioned quite a lot. So Ritvenko, who was mentioned in the previous book, to work for the same dude as the other dude that died. He's no longer working with the dude. He's just trying to win his way back to Ravka because he wants to go home. Well, I believe he's dead. So you meet him again, and he's literally dead soon. So he does buy a shoe. Now, this, which makes it curious, is a shoe who had two vast wings. Okay, vast wings. Wings. He had wings. Since when did since when did they have wings? Since when did they have wings? Okay, wings. 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 Okay, that's that. And then we go on to Waylon. Okay, Waylon. Waylon made himself look like Kuei, to confuse his father and force him to, pay them. And of course, Waylon is now with Kaz's group trying to get Injin back because, his father kidnapped her. So, it starts with them in a gambling hall trying to get information from a Mr. Smeet. Now, Mr. Smeet, information they want is actually at his house. So they're trying to keep him in a gambling hall so that way they can get into his house and get the information. So Nina is acting like, I'm so giggly for you. Kind of distract him. She got the whistle for the dogs. Waylon took it to Kaz, and Kaz and Waylon went to go get the thing. So Jesper anteed up his own weapons, his guns that he loves so much. So now he's got to get them back somehow, and I hope he does, because he really loves those things. Like, they're just the things he loves the most. Okay, so Mathis sits there and follows them to make sure nothing goes wrong. They sneak into the house, they get what they need from it, and they leave. And I'm marked because Waylon says there, since what am I doing here? Okay, I marked this because I thought it was cute, and I hope it happens. And if there was another reason, a tall, lanky reason with a too strong taste for games of chance, he wasn't going to think about that right now. So his reasons for being with the group: Jesper, he likes Jesper. That is so cool. I like that. So we got Kaz and Injin and Waylon and Jesper and Matthias and Nina. Of course, Spotty and Rocky don't count. So he's thinking about things that happened beforehand as well. Like he says that my clerk went missing. Yeah, your clerk went missing because Kaz heard things he didn't like about Injin from the dude's mouth. Should have kept his mouth shut. Should have just kept his mouth shut, because he's got information on one of the girls at the Mangier, the Zemini. What do you have on her? One of her clients is giving her expensive gifts. She's keeping the money. You know what the peacock did to the last girl she caught holding on her? Tante Helene beat her to death. Kaz. So, he knows about a girl who will sit there and sleep with you for free. And he was trying to barter himself with that. And it's like, it's terrible, isn't it? Knowing someone holds your life in their hands. And, you know, if they talk about it, the girl will die. If it's found out that she's letting people come in and sleep with her for free. And all that lovely stuff. So he just drops them and kills them. And then they meet Hannah. And Hannah is like Smeat's daughter. And Kaz threatens her to get her to go into her room and not make a fuss. Because Kaz has no problem doing what he needs to do to get Engine back and the money. Because both are important to him. So he's got no problem with that shit. Okay. So, they meet Smeat on the road again. And they, of course, Kaz slips the whistle back in to the dude's pocket. Okay. So then they go to their place, which is like this Black Island. Black Veil. It's an island that's veiled with smog and smoke and stuff, and it's just a graveyard where they talk about their next set of plans to get an Engine out. Of course, Kuei is there, and Kuei wants to go to Ravka because he thinks there he can make a cure for the Jurda Param, which is a very terrible thing that amplifies Grisha's powers, but it can also kill the Grisha's power. It amplifies a Grisha's power, and it can kill a Grisha too if they don't come down from it, and they will starve from it, and all this other lovely bad fucking shit, right? So yeah, there's that. They're trying to figure it out, how to do it. So Roddy and Speck, which are part of the team, show up and they talk about how the Shu have set up their embassy. Then there's also others, like we find out, Muzin is dead because the Fjord, the Shuhan, the Nova Zem, they're all there and they're all looking for Kuei. And Muzin, in the last one, took Matthias' place, and he was just supposed to stay there and be sick for a while before breaking out. But Muzin was killed by the Fjord trying to kill Matthias for what he did. You know, he's a traitor now. So, then it says, someone's kicking up desks looking for Jesper. And they're like, well, his creditors will have to wait. Kaz is like, he's like, no, Roddy said, shaking his head. A man showed up at the university. Jesper, he claims he's your father. Dun, 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 dun. And then we get an Engine. So, she's meeting a Shu named Bajin, who's trying to talk to her and everything, because she's also a Shu. And try to, you know, soften her up and get information out of her in an easy way, but which of course she doesn't say anything about. Still gathering information and all that stuff. She found this vent and she started crawling through it after she realized that Bajin was trying to get information for Van Eyck in a different way, such as offering we can get you back to your parents. And she just wouldn't go for it. She starved herself, of course, too, and they were given a week to find her. So she's been starving herself throughout this time just to get skinny so that she can fit through this vent. And when she makes it through the vent, she comes out in a theater. And of course, Jean Van Eyck is there with the guards. And they're like, capture her! And she dodges and everything, and she's climbing up this rope, and it gets cut. So she's actually captured. So, where I'm at now is, you are the Wrath, Miss Guffa. Legend of the Barrel. You've gathered the secrets of judges, councilmen, thieves, and killers alike. I doubt there is anything in the city you do not know. You will tell me the locations of Mr. Becker's safe houses now. So, I know she's about to be tortured. Obviously, because she's on the table, flat out, with a lot of torture equipment around. So, she's about to be tortured. And that's where I had to stop, because I had to go to bed. Sleep is a requirement in my life, and I need to get my sleep in order to function. So, hi Kiki. I'll see you guys in the next clip. of course, you'll see my cat right now. I will see you in the next. Dad, and his dad's just gonna sell the farm, which is what he doesn't want because somebody's there. I think it's, I don't know who's there. That Jesper doesn't want his dad to sell the farm, but she's there. And while after his father leaves to get settled, Kaz gives Jesper back his revolvers. So yay! Kaz, of course, picked the locks at the whatever it is. Cumulus, the safe at Cumulus. He's like, what good is a shooter without his guns? Which is very true. Then, of course, what I was talking about, how Nina was supposed to put people to sleep and it didn't work, and she accidentally killed one, and then they knocked him out the old-fashioned way. So, Injun doesn't get fed for the whole day. She wakes up, no food, nothing. And then Bajin comes and gets her out and leads her back to the place where the Blade Nose is. And she is waiting. So she says she's going to answer the questions. So she starts listing out all the places that they don't use anymore. And he's like, you know what I think? I think these are all false places. And I think you're going to have me on a wild goose chase. And I don't think that's the way it is. And then he talks about how he has set it up to where Kaz is going to come to him. And they're just going to all be in a big rear fast, and Kaz and them are going to, well, the rest of the game's going to die, and Kaz is going to be used to get what he wants, which is, of course, Kuei. And she's like, oh no, fuck, did Kaz get outplayed by this merch? No. No, Kaz didn't get outplayed. We thought the same thing they did. But what it was is that he was actually looking for where he stashed his very pregnant wife, Alice. very pregnant wife. They took her like an hour ago. So yeah, they went to the lake house and stole her and left a note saying that they will noon tomorrow at the Gued Med Bridge with her knives. They're gonna exchange. Oh, it's so fucking. And then she's like, go on, Van Eyck, threaten me. Tell me all the little things I am. You lay a finger on me and Kazbreaker will cut the baby from your pretty wife's stomach and hang its body from a balcony at the exchange. Van Eyck, who thinks he's above himself, has gotten bested. Of course. But Elisa Van Eyck is like a terrible woman. She's so complaining for a pregnant lady. I want my dogs. I want this. I want that. So they try to appease her to make her shut up. And of course, that gets her to sing. Because, you know, Matthias is like, sing. And then they find out. Let's see. Jesper talks about what happened with Nina. Of course, Jesper doesn't get to admit all the things that happened, that she didn't do her job correctly, right? So, Matthias, so they have a plan. Matthias and Nina are going to go out first to get up to their spot, but they're all going to be in separate areas situated where the bridge is to try and keep an eye on Jean Van Eyck, so that way if he tries anything, they can get ahead of the game, because he's going to have at least 12 hours to come up with something, right? And while they're separated, Matthias and Nina talk about how she tried to tell herself, but something feels different and it's painful to her. So he's like, how about compelling behaviors? And of course she can't, and he's like a little upset with that, because she tries to compel him to kiss him, and it's like, well, I always want to kiss you, so why don't you? And he's like, we're doing something right now, so we can't. So she talks about their skit that they're supposed to do, which is Mother, Father, Pay the Rent, and I can't, my dear, the money's spent. So yeah, that's what they're trying to do, is set up some type of play thing in the massives of West Ave to throw everything off their tail. So when they get into place, of course, the exchange does happen. quite okay at first, and then he's like, you promised to return my son as well. Where is he? And he's like, I don't have your son. Technically he does, but, you know, obviously he don't. So, Van Eyck seals off the bridge, and of course Waylon starts exploding things, but then more explosions happen because the shoe fucking happened. And the shoe do a lot more exploding, and then Jesper, Nina, Matthias, and Waylon have to fight off two shoe that have wings. They're mechanical wings, and they have some kind of metal underneath their skin to protect them. Of course, Nina kills one of them, I believe, and they get away. And they're like talking about how that these shoes seem to apparently be going after Grisha for whatever reason, and that can actually smell the Grisha somehow, which is a little weird, but you know, that it is. So that does happen, and they run for their lives. Brick by Brick is the next part that we get into. There's like 1, 2, 3 more parts to this, I'm gonna assume, by the looks of it. So, as they're talking, they talk about the, when they all meet back up, they talk about the Grisha and everything. Apparently there's this thing called the Kurgud. They're Grisha who have been worked with doctors, and fabric thinkers, to make a new kind of soldier, ones that, are specifically tailored. So, we'll see. We're gonna read some more, and then come back to this and talk some more, and then maybe I'll actually get a chapter written in this fanfiction I'm writing, so that way by the time it's ready to stream, I'll be somewhere where I'm supposed to be, right? Because like I need to be somewhere. Anyways, I'll see y'all in the next clip. Different angle. Oh, I don't know if I like that angle. You know, just different angle. Hi guys. Hello. Yo. We're back. Different angle. I'm by myself with my little niece and my big niece. In my house. So technically not alone, but I'm in the kitchen because there's no other adults that I need to worry about spilling my guts out to. So, I've decided that I was going to read all that I needed to read today, so that way I didn't have to worry about tomorrow, because I have a lot of writing I want to do, and I've delayed it by a lot. So, there's that. Now, where we left off, I believe it was at 180 pages. Where I said I was going to stop was 300, but I'm actually stopping at 360. An extra 60 pages. Why have I done an extra 60 pages? Because that's what I wanted to do. So now I only have 3 days left of reading, and I still haven't decided whether or not I'm going to read all of the rest of it tomorrow. I might, because it's gotten really heated up. Really heated up. So heated up, okay? So, you know, this is a simple, we're going to get... They got ancient back, right? That's what the first part of it was. And then we are going to sit there and make him pay. Well, Van Eyck is a little more smarter than we gave him credit for, and he has been doing a little better in upping Kaz. He's been doing better than Kaz in thinking. That's what I can say, okay? So... They do split off, of course, and they get to where they need to get. Yeah. So, let me see. Oh, yeah, they were talking about that. That's nothing important. So they split off, and I didn't catch this. As Matthias and Nina are on their way to the Ravka territory to speak to the Grisha there to hopefully smuggle their asses the fuck out because the Shu were trying to capture them, right? They're talking, and their superstitions, right? They like talking about the human bones that Ravka liked to carry around, saying they're from saints. And he's like, are they really saints? She just shrugs her shoulders. They're bones from people, but if people want to believe they're carrying Sankt Egmont's elbow or Sancta Alina's pinky toe. Then Matthias was like, who decided Alina Starkov was a saint anything? She was a powerful Grisha. They're not the same thing. So, I learned she murdered herself. And I haven't even finished Shadow and Bone series. There's still 2 books I haven't read yet, and I already know she's going to sacrifice herself for her kingdom to get rid of the Shadowfold. But the thing that I don't know completely is, why does the Shadowfold still exist? She's supposed to sacrifice to get rid of the Shadowfold, right? The Unsea. Maybe it doesn't exist anymore? I don't know. But here it looks like the Unsea is still very much there in it, but that might just be where the Shadowfold was and it's no longer there anymore. I don't remember. But, whoo, boy, it is like, I don't fucking know. But, Saint Alina! Oh my freaking god. So she's just far enough into the future that she's freaking dead and she's considered a saint still. And I'm pretty sure, I figured out how to say her name. Inez has a dagger named after her. And how could I fucking forget that shit? I'm a little disappointed in myself, to be honest, guys. Little fucking disappointed in myself. So, like, that was an oh my gosh moment in my fucking head. Like, that. So then they go and they say their password to the peddler. And the peddler, since they're in, goes to get somebody. And then they're ambushed. Guess what? By Zoya. The person that was Nina's commander in the Ravka army when she went freaking missing. So, Zoya's back into the picture. Then we go on to Wayland's. Because, we don't stay with people. So, Wayland and Kaz split up from Jesper. Right? Split up from Jesper. No. Okay, well, they talk about how Wayland, left his father. Apparently, Migson and Priory were paid to ensure he died. His father was supposedly sending him to Bellont, and they're paid to actually kill him. But anyways, oh right, Jesper and Kaz are on their, not Kaz, but Jesper and Wayland are on their mission to get some stuff from a shop, but they're also going to this Olenda, which is where his Olendal, where his mother is supposedly buried. So they go to this freaking church, where they think it's a church, and then they come to find out it's not a church, it's actually an insane asylum, and Mara Hendricks is still fucking alive, but her husband had divorced her after putting her in an insane asylum, took her money, her wealth, everything from her, after shoving her in there, and she fucking knows that he took everything from her, but she acts like she's a little cuckoo in the nuthead. But, yeah, they talk, and of course she doesn't recognize him, because he's been changed to look like Kuei, and there's no way of getting it back. He's permanently gonna look like Kuei for fucking ever. Sorry, I have had a little sneezing fit today. I think I took my medication for allergies a little too late, and of course, it could also be a sinus issue, because the weather here, where I live, in Alabama, has gone from hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold, 70 degrees, 40, 31 degrees. It's been a little sniffly, okay? Okay, get over that. So they leave to go back, and Jesper's trying to talk to him about it, about his parents and everything like that, well, Wayland's, and how cruel Wayland's father is, to the point where he told Wayland that his mother died, insane asylum, and then just forsake her. Like, and I found my favorite quote. I'm going to say it here, and then at the end we're going to talk about it again, because, got to do that. Alright? So, Jesper says, I love a little righteous comeuppance. Jogged the liver. That is so fucking good. Okay, I love it. And then we get to Matthias, back to Zoya and Nina. Okay, so we meet Genya Safin, the renowned tailor, Nina's former instructor, and member of the Triumvirate. They talk. So they talk about how we can get you out of Ketterdam. And they're like, well, we have a ship, but we just can't reach it. And she's like, but we have a ship that's in cargo, and it's somebody else's ship, and we can get out. She's just like, all right, I'm listening. So then they start walking back to where they need to go, which of course is the Black Veil, where they've been hauled out. But of course, before that actually, Nina and Matthias have a little argument because Nina wants Matthias to kiss him, but he wants to actually court her as is proper by the fjords. But Nina's like, you're breaking all the laws already, break some more. And then they fucking kiss. Because, awesome. Because, awesome sauce, kissing is always good for you. We're going to highlight that because I forgot to highlight that. Pink it up. Pink it up, pink it up, pink it up. Because, she fucking kissed him. So, she tells Tamara that a heartrender in shoe possession and under the influence of palm could actually tip the scales in their favor. Because they're just fucking at war still. The Fjord and the Ravka are still at war. So then they talk about his wolf. Which his wolf was named Trasel, which means troublemaker. And it was because he was, he wasn't a runt, but it was also because nobody wanted him because he was been abused and didn't want to go with anyone. And he convinced the wolf that he wasn't going to harm him because the wolf bit him when he let him out of the cage. And then he showed the wolf, Tressel, that he wasn't going to retaliate, and so the wolf started trusting him. But now the wolf has probably gone back into the wild forever, because that's what they do. Then he sits there and talks about, your power has changed, hasn't it? And she said yes. But she thinks it's temporary and that her power will go back to what she was able to do. But he's not so sure because so far she controlled bone shards in dust, but they're not sure exactly what it is. And then she finds a wanted poster of Matthias Halvar, dead or alive. So now they put a head on it, put a head on his head. So, they return to the tomb and they talk about oh my god, so much shit. About how they might all go to Ravka, except for Kaz, of course, because he wants to stay behind. And Jasper wants to go home with his father. And he's like, you can stay with us, Waylon, while we wait everything out. And he's like, okay, sure. So, they're talking, and they Waylon and Jasper almost fucking confess to each other, and they get interrupted by Kaz trying to do their shit, okay? So this is when they separate to do more shit at night. Nina has to go with Inez. Matthias and Jasper are going to stay home with Kuwait. Stay home in the Veil, the Black Veil with Kuwait. And Waylon and Kaz are going out to his father's house to steal what they need to steal from him. You also get a little bit of information about Jasper's past in here, about how his mother, Aditi Hilia, who was a fabricator like Jasper, used it to help people, and how she died was because she pulled out a lot of metal that a little girl had consumed, and a lot of it got into her, and it actually killed her. And we also learned a new word in their language, which is Zowa, which means blessed. So she always thought she was blessed, which I think is pretty cute. And that might actually be my favorite passage. So then he's talking, of course, to Quay before they leave about the Jurda that was in the fields. They had Jurda fields. And he's like, the Zemi don't just use the blossoms. I remember my mother soaking Jurda stalks in goat's milk. She gave it to me when I'd been out in the fields. And it was to counteract the effects of inhaling Jurda pollen all day. The stalks have a balm in them. The Zemini drain it for ointments. They rub it on babies' gums and nostrils when they're burning Jurda. So he's thinking maybe there's an antidote that can be created from the stalks of the Jurda plant, which is what makes the Jurda palm. Makes them go whoop-oo. So the unexpected visitor, we already know who that is, okay? It's Pekka Rollings and other people. So Nina and Inez go out to the sweet reef where the sugar is, and Nina distracts the guards so Inez can get up to where she needs to be. And while she's up there, she thinks about her past and how she doesn't need nets. And then she gets up and she sits there and puts it in the first one before she goes on to the next one. But of course, after she did that, after she closed the hatch before she went on to the next one, she stumbled because she felt a hand grab the back of her neck and shove her forward. So, yay, she has a visitor. So Kaz and Waylon are talking, and they talk about his great-grandfather, great-great-grandfather, Martin Van Eck, who started everything, and about how, since Waylon can't fucking read, because he's got some kind of issue up in his head that makes it impossible for him to understand words and to read sentences, that, gosh damn, I fucking forget what I need to say on that. I'm trying to think. I think he can run a business, and not Jesper, but Kaz is like, I think you can run a business. I think you can do a really good job of running a business. I just think you don't want to be like your father. He's like, but you should think about it. You should think about running a business. Just hire somebody to run a business, help you run the business. And then Pekka Rolling shows up to stop him from stealing the fucking seal. After they already got it. So, there's that. Then we're back to Matthias. Okay. So, that's when they find out the dime lions are now on Black Veil, trying to get into the vault, the catacomb vault. The vault for death. That thing. Cemetery death vault. To get Kuwait. So they're trying to get in. And they fake trying to blow out the end. And then run out the front when they're all trying to go back around the end. And then they start making, woo, it seems like there's ghosts. With Jesper and Kuwait. Now, Kuwait barely knows how to deal with his power, which is Inferni. And Jesper can barely do his Fabernic. So they're kind of trying to do it together, and Matthias is leading them, and he does a really good job of it. And they do finally get into a boat and leave offshore. Yay! So, Inez, in the next one, which is 20, finds the new girl, who is not Shu. She is Dunyasha, the White Blade, trained by the sages of Amulat Jen, the greatest assassin of the sage. And she's actually better than Inez. And Inez has to escape her through the wire being cut and falling 20 freaking feet. Okay. So, yeah. Kaz and Waylon have to fight their way out. They burn a hole through Van Eck's floor while doing it. But they get past Pekka Rollings. Okay. And they head to Sweet Reef to get Nina and Inez. Now, Nina is also being attacked by the Dime Lions. And, of course, this one Iamon is saying, come on with us. He wants you. Pekka wants you, and he's going to not make a deal with you because he's just going to own you and force you to do shit. And they start coming after her, and she's struggling and fighting, and she's losing. She's fucking losing, and they're about to put a collar on her, but she felt the bodies on the barge rise. So she sat there and threw her arms on Margaret, focusing the strange new awareness. So she gets an awareness with these dead bodies, and she makes them come up, and she makes them come out, and they scare off everybody because she's fucking controlling freaking dead bodies like an necromancer. So yeah, there you go. They run away, and she has the corpses pull out the net so Inez can fall into the net safely. And that's when the Dunyashi, it's like, I won and you know I did. And she's like, yeah, you had a good night. And then she flies off because she obviously doesn't want to fuck with corpses, and I don't blame her. So yeah, so Nina can now control corpses. So now she can control dead shit instead of living shit, which is definitely not the same as normal. And that should be added in, okay? Because that's definitely not fucking normal. So as they're leaving, they find Kaz and Waylon with them. And they all go to Jesper's dad's house. So they're setting up blockades. They're trying to force them in. They're having the gangs. Pekka Romling's having gangs and everything out on the lookout for them. And they have the stand watch, which are the guards and policemen of this world. And then Ek is trying to find them and crowd them in. So now they have to find a new way to get with their money and get the fuck out. This is where a whole new plan comes into place. And then you learn a little bit about how he learned how to be a demo. So Jesper's father is harboring wanted people, so he decides he wants to go all in to help out with everything. Of course, Cass was ready to give himself up at first, but as they fought, they sat there and figured some things out. And you learn Jesper's full name. Jesper Lewel Fahy, I think. Let me make sure I'm saying that right. Jesper, why didn't you give me your middle name? Jesper, where's your middle fucking name? Like, that is like a little sad, okay? A little sad that they don't give you his middle name. Anyways. He has a scheming face. So he goes, this whole time, we've been playing Van Eek's game. We've been hiding. We're done with that. We're going to stage a little auction right out in the open. And since Kuei is so eager to sacrifice him, so he's going to be the prize. So apparently in this world, when you go to auction your indentured self off, it is respected in Kirsch that nothing can happen to anybody that's involved in this auction while the auction is going on. And when he gets bought, everybody has to respect that. And his plan, Kaz's plan, is to get Kuei bought by the Ravka, who will be supported by the Merchant Council. Why? Because they also know about Judah Prom, but they can't do anything because Van Eek controls a lot of shit. But this is their chance to get the fuck out of it. So let's hope that plan works. And everything. So Inez tries to convince. Okay, so work has been sort of kicking my butt, and I've been feeling really exhausted this week. So the only thing I have been reading off from my TBR has been the Audible for and Flame, except for on Monday. Now that it is Saturday, I have a lot of catching up to do for the Crooked Kingdom if I want to stay on track to read the rest of my TBR for this month. And it's a lot. I have 4 days worth of reading to catch up because this is the 5th day, and now I've got 3 more days to read to be able to catch up to be on track for tomorrow, which is Sunday. I don't know if I'm going to read it all today, or maybe just keep like 2 reads for tomorrow instead of having like 1 read tomorrow, so that way I don't read nearly as much today. But then again, I might just read more because it has started to get interesting. Even though I haven't tabbed a lot, it is still getting interesting. I just don't feel the need to tab nearly as much as I did before. So, yeah. So far, I have read from 63 to... Oopsie. Missed it. 180. Well, I'm on 181. Let's just say things have picked up. So, Van Eyck has decided that what he wants to do is, because she's not talking, Injun's not talking because we left in the middle of the chapter for Injun, he wants her legs broken. Okay, so she starts to struggle because obviously her legs are freaking important to her as the spider, the wraith, climbing up on top of shit and just being an overall spy that she fucking is. And he tells his blade nose guard to use a mallet to shatter her bone, so that way nobody can bring her back together. And she's of course screaming "don't," and then she says the one thing that obviously makes him stop: he'll never trade if you break me. Which is true. If Kaz can't use the Wraith for the Wraith business, which is scaling walls and doing stuff up fucking high, then she's no use to him. And he won't give Van Eyck whatever the hell he wants, which is basically Kuei in the ability to make Jurda Parum, which is an extremely dangerous thing that kills off Grisha after making them extremely powerful. Nina's still struggling so fucking bad with when she used it. And now I think it's got consequences, because she's supposed to sit there and make a couple guards sleep, and instead they had to knock them out after she killed one using an inanimate object, which is what she shouldn't have been able to do. So there's that going on. Her abilities are in question because for some reason she can't connect to them the same way that she's supposed to be able to connect with them. So she's having issues in that regard. So Van Eyck says, well, you better tell me everything I want to know tomorrow night, or else I'm not going to be as nice. Then we go to part 2, A Killing Wind. Jesper goes to visit his dad, okay, after talking with Waylon about things happening. Fuck, I don't really understand, like, higher place for learning. They're talking about making money by learning, using knowledge for everything.
Don't listen.
And that's when you meet Colm Fahey, Jesper's dad. Jesper's dad has been told that, the bank's going to take the money back that they want immediately, so he came out looking for Jesper, trying to figure out what's going on. And they used him to draw Jesper out. And so he had to get his dad out because people were shooting. And it was like a lot of people. And then while they're running away, going through a rare book room, he meets Madeline Mitchod, who he said we were going to have breakfast. And he's like, I had to go to the fjord. And he says, if I live, I'll buy you waffles. So it's a pretty woman. Obviously, he was going to hook up with her. I hope he doesn't ever hook up with her, because Waylon has like the super massive fucking crush that he does on Jesper, and Jesper needs to just turn around and have a super massive crush on Waylon, because their little banter that they have is funny, and I like it a lot. So they finally get him out. We go to Nina, and Nina talks about her desires for Param and how she can't keep it down and all of that. So when they bring in his father, Colm, things get a little weird. And they find out that he was just used to draw out Jesper. And then they make up a lie about how he was at the bank studying, and that Waylon says it's my fault. He was concerned about the bank loan, so he put his studies on hold to work with a local gunsmith. And I told them about a deal. They were swindled. They were offered a business opportunity that seemed too good to be true. They lost everything. So, yeah, the authorities can't help. So, that lie there. So, they moved him from where he was staying to a new place, so that way they would keep him in obscurity, so people wouldn't know and be able to use him once again for trying to get at Jesper. And then they have 3 days to get the money. So, that's a little terrible. So, these tailors, soldiers, are on Param, and they're dangerous. Very, very dangerous. So they're talking about how maybe they need to get something done. But the Shu sat there and the council tides dry docked 2 Shu warships because of the attack. So now they can't leave. And they're kind of stuck. But they just want that. So that's when they talk about Emil Ravedko that you saw in the first freaking chapter of the book. Alright. So then they talk about what Kaz did with the money he had that he sold, because he sold his shares in Fifth Harbor and the Crow Club for cash from Pekka Rollings, and he used that to put it into sugar under aliases names, and then some of it he used to buy up in Van Eyck's wife's name. So their plan is to use what they call a weevil, which is this little vial of stuff which when it's dropped into the silo, it will keep burning and using their fine sugar as a fuel until the sugar is nothing but useless mush, and it's for all shields. So the money for the sugar will go up, and they can just sell out to the merchants who need it, getting their money's worth in that 30 million crash, their money. And at the same time, ruining Van Eyck toward a point where he'll get arrested and he'll no longer be able to do trade, so he'll be a freaking ruined man, and his wife will most likely divorce, go home to her parents, and maybe marry a prince. But Nina won't participate in any of it unless Brecker gets the Grisha out of the city. And of course, Kaz says, well, I'm not doing it. She goes, I'm out. And he's like, fine, you're out. I don't need you. And Asian's like, no, you need me, and I'll be out if you don't help these Grisha. So he's like, fine. So they need to get a ship, which they're going to commandeer one of Van Eyck's with forged papers and documentations to leave for Rekka with all these 31 people, including Kuei, to get them to Revka and out of the way. And they're going to use Jesper, Waylon, and all of that to get it going. So yeah. Nina and Injun are going to go and do the whole infecting the 10 silos. So what Nina's going to be the lookout. Injun's going to climb up one of the silos, infect it, and then use a wire to go across the rest of them to infect the rest of them, and then she's going to come back down. Now there's a net just in case she needs it, because Kaz doesn't want her dying at all, because he just got her back, and of course he doesn't want to admit it, she doesn't want to admit it, but they're both in love with each other, so shut the fuck up, okay? And she's like, I don't need a net. Gaff people don't, Gaff family don't need it. Kaz doesn't sleep, and then he goes out with Injun to go talk to Per Haskell, which is whom they all owe their contracts to, because that's who has their contracts. And he's really pissed off about it, and he's like, well, I'm going to get it, just give me a little while longer. And he's like, well, I want the Wraith, you can have this rotor, he's spry enough. And he said, not for this, because obviously he's not going to be able to scale a 20-foot silo and then walk across a wire without really needing a net. And of course, the Wraith disappears, so he's like, bring her back to me. I will once my job is done and I get the money. And so, the two of them, the Wraith and Kaz, they go creeping along up the roof buildings to go scout out Van Eek's home to see what they can do. And she's like, this is a one-person's job. Just go home, get shit ready. I'll have all the information we need. So she forces him to climb back down. And he's like, curse you and all your sayings. And that's currently where I'm at, 181. We are going to read at least 2 more of these to get myself up to where I need to sort of be, which is from 181 to 300. Yeah. So that's where I'm looking at. I might just read up to 304 because that's the end of a chapter. That's a new chapter beginning right there. And of course, there's still like a shit ton more to go. But that's where I'm at right now. So we're going to get back to reading, and I will come back with more for you in a little bit. Now, I still haven't decided whether or not I want to just read as much as I can today, so that way I only have one reading session to do tomorrow. I might just try to read all of it and get it done out of the way, because I don't really know how many more I'll have to read for tomorrow to read to finish off the book, so that way I can guarantee that if I do get tired or whatnot, come next week, I will have plenty of time to read 2 books, because I will not be working at all next week. Not this upcoming week. Like the week of Thanksgiving, I took vacation for that whole entire week, so I'll have plenty of time to read. Of course, I'll have to have plenty of time to listen to the Audible for Iron Flame as well, because I'm definitely getting that one done. So we have that to look forward to in all its wonderful glory. So we'll see, because work has been kind of dragging me down, and I've been coming home and just feeling exhausted. Jesper, who after he tells him how he almost killed her, what he should do, he should tell the truth to his father. And he goes to do that, except he can't in the end. Because his father is like, well, why didn't you send me to Ravka? And he said, that's out of the question, because he doesn't want his father to die and fight in some ass war. But he's like, you taught me to lie. Because he's like, I didn't teach my son to be a criminal. And he's like, you taught me to lie to keep you safe. I had a gift, you should have let me use it. And his father believes it's not a gift because it's a curse, because it's the same thing that killed his mother. And he goes, I'm dying anyways. Duh. I'm just doing it slow. Which is the truth. Hold on 2 seconds. I gotta go check on something. Scarlett, what you got? You got your food? I see. Okay, you can eat your food, baby. I just wanted to see it. Yeah? Eat your food. Okay. Jesper goes inside, and he sees who he thinks is Waylon at a white lacquer piano in the corner. And he's like, Jesper's flirting with him. And he pulls him in to kiss him. And And he gives Waylon a chance to pull back, but Waylon doesn't. And then he actually fucking kisses Waylon. Who he thought was Waylon. Comes to find out when he sees Kuwei in the doorway, he's like, what, do the shoe not kiss before noon? And Kuwei says, I wouldn't know. Oh, saints, why didn't you say anything? He fucking kissed Kuwei instead of Waylon, and Waylon saw it. And oh my fucking god, are you serious? Oh, they almost fucking got together, and you had to do this to me? Lee Bardugo, why the fuck did you do that? Jesper and Waylon should have fucking got together. You should have kept it Waylon instead. And Jesper tries to tell Waylon the truth that he thought it was Kuwei. Not Waylon, but Waylon, not Kuwei. Because they look exactly the fuck alike. And he's like, your crush is actually not that bad. So why didn't you fucking say anything? He says, for the record, you're a good kisser. Ugh, that makes it so fucking terrible. So, the plan is, Kuwei is going to sell himself. And to our highest bidder, which will be the Ravka. Which means they'll get out of Ravka. And they're like, trade is sacred, protected by the law, merchandise are duty bound to make sure auction proceeds without interference. Which means that Matthias and Kaz can go up there and be his protection, because they can't do anything as long as he's named them as bodyguards. I'm so sorry, my nose is just like really fucking bothering me right now, and it's about to drive my ass fucking crazy. So yeah, they talk about all the threats that they have faced and all the threats they're going to face. And Colm Hefe, he says he's going to do it, and he's going to do it under a different alias, just because the alias is going to be Johannes Rietveld, which is actually Kaz's original name, and Jordy's middle name. So, their shared family name to create the farmer's identity years ago. So he made this farmer's identity years ago, and it's fucking fake as hell. But, let's see. Let's see. What else? He admits that he made a mistake going to Pekka Rollings to sell his shit because they needed the capital. But he admits that. He admits it so bad. He also tried to give Inez a way out. So he got her contract, paid it the fuck off, and tried to get her to leave. Taking 20,000 courage and just leaving. And she's like, they're my friends, I'm not going. And then she's like, I think Dun Yashi is my shadow. Ooh, and I think you're Pekka Rollins' shadow. And I think you're going to take everything from him. And that's where I'm at, in the middle of Kaz's chapter. I say in the middle of, well, yeah, okay, in the middle of. So, I'll finish that tomorrow. I might just go ahead and finish the whole book tomorrow. So that way I have more time to listen to the audible. For Iron Flame. Pardon me. I'm just sneezing up the fucking wazoo, and it's irritating the fuck out of my nose. Anyways, hopefully tomorrow I'll be much better off not sneezing my ass off while I'm giving you an update on this book, Crooked Kingdom, by Lee Bardugo. And she's fucking pulling my heartstrings between Kaz and Inez and Waylon and Jesper, and I need her to fucking stop. And I mean, she's also doing with Nina and Matthias too, but this is the last fucking book in the duology. So you better fucking stop pulling my goddamn heartstrings and give me the 3 fucking couples that I want. Do I care about Kuwei? No. The fuck I don't. The rest? Yes. The other 6? Yes. I do. They need it. Okay? So anyways, see you in the next clip. Okay, guys. So, I've read the next part that I needed to read for this, and things have picked up in a certain way, but not in the way I thought they would. So, yeah, I think I'm just going to read maybe, like, tomorrow or something after work. Get my shit going that way. So, oh, that was not marked. How in the fuck did I not mark that? Oh no, you're not coming off properly. Guys. First things first, it happens later. I mean, like, down here somewhere. But really good shit happens that I liked. Okay. So, right. So, Inez does not want Kaz to go to the slat to fuck with shit, but he does anyways. After talking to her about other shit and helping her tie up a bandage. Okay, so, he actually fights, like, all the people at the slat because it's, Per Haskell's, hideaway. And then he's talking to them about, you know, who should be a part of it and who shouldn't. Because, really, Per Haskell has, like, rolled over for Pekka Rollins and the Dime Lions, way, making a deal with them. And that's, like, why? Why would you do that? You're, a bad guy? And that's a rival gang. Why are you trying to do the rival gang? He'll honor the deal. No. Pekka Rollins will not honor the deal. He'll decide that what he wants to do after a while is, you know, fuck you over. Because that's what Pekka Rollins does. He fucks everybody over because he wants to be the baddest club gang there, and he wants to be the one that's running all of the barrel. Not just some of it. So, Kaz is like, who do you want? Some damaged asshole like him who rolls over? Not damaged, but some asshole like him who rolls over and makes deals with Pekka Rollins? Or do you want someone who'll make sure your coffers are filled, be the baddest of the bad, but don't roll over for people? They choose Kaz. So, Per Haskell is like, over, done with. He did a coup. He should have done this coup, like, fucking forever. He could have done this fucking coup for fucking ever. So, Genya and Zoya and somebody else comes along to talk to Kaz, from the Ravka embassy about what they're going to do about Kuwait. Because obviously Kuwait has sent, well, not Kuwait, but somebody has sent in the thing about Kuwait's, deal selling himself, right? And, so he's like, okay, we'll talk. But he wants to talk to the one person only. And that one person is, Stormvald, I think his name is. He's introduced, Stromhond. Okay. Waylon wants to ask Genya, who is a tailor, to undo the tailoring so that way he can look like himself and stop looking like Kuwait. And when he does so, before he goes to do it, Jesper's like, here. Because he was trying to tell him that he thought it was Kuwait because sometimes he can't tell it's not Kuwait and instead of Waylon, because, you know, they look a lot of fucking alike. And so, Jesper's like, here, I stole this while we were with your mother. It's one of her paintings, and it's a painting of him, of Waylon, and he's like, Waylon's like, you just took this because you thought it might come in handy? And Jesper's like, I told you. I like your stupid face. So Kaz is like, I want to talk to the privateer by himself on this. And he's like, okay, we'll talk. And then, Waylon's like, can you like undo this? And she brought her kit, so she sits there and starts undoing it. And, of course, Jesper's like, his brow should be a bit nearer, just a little bit, and his lashes were longer. And Waylon's like, I didn't know you were paying attention. Jesper's like, I was paying attention. Like, hello. And, afterwards, she leaves, and he's like, there's a person I knew. There is my merchling. And they're talking. Waylon asked Genya about the powers of the Grisha, about who and they could be taught, how they could be taught, and all of that lovely stuff, because he was trying to hint at, Jesper needs to go and get himself trained, because he's got this power, and he should train it. And Genya's saying, like, oh yeah, anybody can do it. And then he's like, I can't read. She's like, that's because nobody took the time to teach you. And I said, no, I had a real problem doing it. I just can't. And she's like, it seems like you're getting along well. And Waylon's like, I just don't get it. I spent my whole life hiding the things I can't do. Why run from the amazing things you can do? So he really thinks Jesper can do amazing things. But he also thinks that Jesper sharpshooting is actually, from his powers, because he's a fabric. Like, well, what if you're manipulating the bullets to go in the direction that you want them to, so you never miss, because you never miss? And what if that's what you're doing, is instead of that came out, I'll get it in a minute, instead of missing all the time, you're hitting your target every single time because you're directing that bullet. And Jesper's like, why can't you make things easy? He goes, but nothing's easy. Nothing is easy. But, Waylon tells him to just stop and to breathe. Just breathe. And then they kiss. Oh, and they kiss. And it's a good kiss. And Jesper's like, yeah, really into it. And so isn't Waylon. And then Jesper's like, Waylon, I really hope we don't die. I really hope you guys don't die either. I don't want you to. You guys need to end up together and be in love. So, Genya also sat there and tailored Kaz a little bit, fixed his nose, reduced his swelling, and everything, to a point. He still looks like he's beat up, like he beat up, 10 people, and got beat up. Yeah, so, there's that. He also sat there and set something in motion with a Carl Dryden, who is a new, member of the council, with the shit he came in. So, yeah. The whole point was to try and root out some things about Van Eyck. So, Colm is supposed to be talking to him about his fields and how he wants to make a Corsair, and you make it for Jurda. And he's trying to look for investors and stuff. And he's hinting at that somebody was buying up all the stuff, and that's why he was coming out to seek investors. And they're like, oh yeah, we'll look into it. And they're trying to push him. He's like, I feel distinctly bullied, Mr. Van Eyck, and I don't like it. And so Van Eyck's like, okay, we'll give you 24 hours to make up your mind about what's best for it. And he says, of course I will. That's what I need. And then as they're leaving, Van Eyck is like, Miss Zink, I hear you worked out of the House of the White Rose. And she said, I've heard, and then he's like, I've heard the Heartrender there occasionally works with Kaz. She's like, I've done jobs for Breaker before, but please believe me, if I had any idea where he'd taken your son, I would tell you the authorities. And he's like, thank you. And then that's where she brings it. And he leaves because, you can't bring up what he wanted to bring up before. Also, Strumhond was actually a alias for the king of Ravka, who is trying to make a deal to get Kuei, because that's Kuei can make an antidote for Jurda Prom, which will save, Grisha. And that's really, fucking important, So, we're getting closer to the end, and the play that they're going to be making. So yeah, I'm on chapter, almost done this chapter. I might as well just fucking finish it, but I don't really want to. 30 out of 45. So I've got 15 chapters left. Yeah. And I think I will just finish it like tomorrow or the day after. And just buckle down and read. Because I really need to be doing that when I get home from work. Buckling down and reading, because I can't get out of that habit just because I'm going to have a week off next week. You know, I work a lot to afford all the things I want. By this time you would have seen my book unhaul, my last book haul. I hope you guys enjoyed them. My bookshelf tour with all the new books hopefully on it, except for one. Or two. No, two. Except for two. That are pre-orders. They don't come out until like the 30th of December and like the 1st of January. Or within the first week of January. So yeah, those won't be on the bookshelf tour, but they'll have a slot for them. Everything else should be there. I am slowly buying for my sequels because, as you guys know, I don't know why I'm telling you even. Why in the middle of this thing? As you know, I'm only buying sequel books to series that I'm currently in the middle of reading. So that way I don't waste my money on new books until after I get like closer to not having over so many books in my physical TBR that I gotta read. Because I looked and I have quite a bit. I can actually give you a general idea of how many books by the end of this year, if I read all of my TBR, and at the beginning of January, I will have a certain amount of books that will need to be read, right? Right. And I can actually give you a general idea of how many books that is, because I have actually written down all the books that I have not read for this channel. That doesn't include the ones that I have read, but were long before this channel even started, that I'm going to reread for this channel. 14, 26. So there's a lot of stuff. I'll have probably, before this even comes out, a knowledge of how many there are. If you watched it, you'll know how many. I have. It increases slowly, but at the same time it's decreasing a lot more than what you think. I have one more read of The Crooked Kingdom tomorrow for y'all, and then I will be done with it. But I'll be done with the book. So we pick up with where Nina gets a dead body and she imitates. I'm guessing she's imitating like the Queen Lady's plague. That's kind of weird. And he gives a pep talk to everybody. He's like, okay, you know, we all want different things from this day. Freedom, redemption. Jesper's like, gold hard cash. And Kaz is like, plenty of that. There are lots of people looking to stand in our way. Van Eyck, the Merchant Council, Pekka Rollings and his goons, a few different countries, and most of this Saints Forsaken town. And Neil's like, is this supposed to be encouraging? So he continues, they don't know who we are. Not really. They don't know what we've done, what we've managed together. So let's go show them. They picked the wrong damn fight. And Waylon's, of course, contemplating his life in the mirror moment, going, it's for my mother. It's for my mother. This is all I'm doing, and everything is for my mother. I'm here for myself. And he's like saying, like, I've been running away this entire time, and now I am ready to stand and fight and not disappear, because we both wanted the same thing, but here we go. So they get to the bakery where they're supposed to be, and they're talking about Jesper. About why Waylon would lie for him. It's like, I guess I know what it's like to get things wrong. And then, they're talking back and forth. So, no matter what he did or where it went wrong, I think he's like, you gave him someone to run to. That's the biggest. That's bigger than big mistakes. It's like, now I know why he likes you. So he tells Colm to stay calm, and he gets nabbed. Now, he gets brought to Van Eyck, and Van Eyck wants him tortured for information on everything. So in the end, he does tell them everything, and it makes you seem like he's actually being tortured by Van Eyck Peckham Rolling's people, but they're not. It's a false thing. He wanted to make it look convincing. The people in Kaz's crew wanted to make it look convincing, and they made it look convincing. So he told a bunch of bullshit that I thought was real. I thought the Ravka were falsifying shit, but that's not how he made it seem. So it seems a certain way, but it's different. Okay, Inez finds her little thing and starts fighting. Well, she goes to find her thing, so she's watching everything from the top. Okay, so Jelen Radmaker is one of the investors, and he's the one that's going to be doing the whole selling thing. He does the whole thing where they start it, and that's when the tide makers come in. They say the auction is a scam, and then Dunyashi comes along and starts fighting Inez, and that's where part 6 comes in. So I don't even know what the fuck Matthias was supposed to be doing. He's just staring at shit and hoping that nothing happens to Nina. So they're talking about how it's the tide makers are talking about how it's been the proceedings have been compromised, and that the market must decide. And of course they're like, Matthias made a good show of shouting along with the others, but he paused beside Kaz, and Matthias heard him murmur, "Here I thought I would have to be the one to reveal your schemes with Rafkins, but it seems the Tides will have the honor." This is Van Eyck saying this. Waylon took quite a beating before he gave you and your friends up. I never knew the boy would have so much fun. A false fund was created to swindle honest merchants out of their money. That money was funneled to one of the others. Of course, the Rafkins, said Van Eyck in mock surprise. We all know that they don't have the funds to bid. They don't have the 120 million courage to bid. And they're like, Tidemakers like, the Ravka have nothing to do with this. The money was transferred to the shoe. And he's like, well then, Berker had some kind of deal with the shoe, and the false fund was created by Johannes Ritzwald and Jean Van Eyck. And he's like, no, that's not right. And Carl Drayden's like, Ritzwald is a farmer. I met him myself. Both you and John Van Eyck were seen meeting with Ritzwald in the lobby of the Guildrunner Hotel. Radmaker knows nothing about this, Mr. Vandal. He was there for a presentation on the Zemini oil futures. It was most peculiar, but what of it? Ritzwald is Vanny, because Ritzwald is involved. Brecker is behind it. He must have hired Ritzwald to swindle the council. And the council members are like, you're saying it's all gone? We put our funds into this? And then the shoe's like, we knew nothing about this. And Vanny is like, this is Becker's doing. The boy was up at nothing. He kidnapped my wife, my son. Did imagine him standing? And then, did imagine you standing on the Good Med Bridge in West Ave with Elias? And Kaz is like, of course not. I retrieved her from the market square just as you asked. She was said She said she was blindfolded and never saw the people who took her. Nonsense. Elias, tell him. She's like, her captors wore masks and she was blindfolded until she reached the square. And, well, my guard certainly saw him with us, men in your employ. Brecker was the one who set up the meeting at the bridge. He left a note. But the note wasn't signed, so you can't show it. And he left a type-in. The type-in was Van Eek's type-in, so no proof there either. And then he's like, my son, I'm right here, father. And he comes in, and it's like, were you relying on Pekka Rollins' men? Kaz, musing a low rasp. And are you sure they were Pekka's men? If they're not from the barrel, you might find it hard to tell lions from crows. One animal is the same as the next. The Redmaker was like shouting to his stand watch to help him. Can she say the boy is hurt? And then Radmaker was like wailing, Van Eyck, the boy you've been tearing apart to save him. I got free as soon as I could from Breaker. From Rolling, says Whalen. Pekka Rollins shook his head. Yes, weeks ago. Stop your lies, hissed Van Eyck. Tell them what you told me. Tell them about the Robkins. Whalen lifted his head wearily. I'll say whatever you want, father. Just don't let them hurt me anymore. Matthias is like, has Nina been giving him lessons? Kaz is like, maybe he's a natural. Then they're talking about how Pekka Rollins was waiting for Kaz in an ambush because Kaz broke into his house and his office, and of course Kaz was like, Van Eyck invited us there for a broker a deal between us and Quay Yul Bull. And I was like, but we all saw Quay Yul Bull there too at the house, at Van Eyck's house. So, like, it's a big ass mess. And finally, people are saying that Van Eyck is the one who was the secret buyer, and he's trying to deny it. And it says, Radmaker's banged his gavel. John Van Eyck, at the very least, you have squandered the resources of the city in pursuing unfounded accusations. At the worst, you have abused your position as a councilman, attempted to defraud your friends, and violated the integrity of this auction. The auction has been compromised. It cannot go on until we have determined whether any members of the council knowingly channeled funds to any of the bidders. And then they hear this wailing sound of screams, which sounds a lot like the Queen's Lady Plague happening. And Quay's like, what is it? And he's like, that Quay is a sound that death makes when she comes calling. So, yeah. Before the first shot, no one even noticed when the first shot was fired. That was like, what? There's a shot fired? What the fuck? So Nina is going along to these places that belongs to Pekka Rollins and spreading a disease with her. Well, it probably is actually a disease because she controls the dead now, and she really does not worry about it because, like, Nina had grieved for the loss of her power, for the connection she'd felt to the living world. She resented this shadow gift. It has seemed like a sham and punishment, but just as surely as life connected everything, so did death. It was an endless, fast-running river. She dipped her fingers into its current, held the eddy of its power in her hand. She was the queen of mourning, and in its death, she would never drown. Oh, so literally, she goes from being able to manipulate life to manipulating death, and I think that's golden. So we jump to Inez, who is fighting Danyusha, and she actually finds her tail, gets her all bloody, and gets her to trip, which makes it to where better, where she can just kill her. So she does, because she falls off the side of the roof. Yeah. Yeah, so she did that, which was nice, in my opinion, because Dunyasha should not have tried to take her place. So Jesper gets behind because he's trying to leave the church, but he has an issue leaving because people won't let him leave, so he's got to lie to get out. So he finally gets to a certain spot, and then he hears the scream, and he's like, shit, I'm going to be late. I need to sit there and do this. I need to get Inez came, and he's like, just beware, gun. And so she unslings it, and he snatches it. Now, he hears a siren, definitely too late. And then he hears his mother's voice. Anyone can shoot, but not everybody can aim. We're Zoa, you and me. So what if the bullet can be guided? And so here he is, not even looking at Kuei, and he fires a bullet at Kuei and hits him in the chest. So when Kuei goes down, Kaz injects him with something, I'm sure to make him look like he's dead, so that way things can go on, and then he is confronted with Rollings. And Rollings has this little thing called a kid that Kaz manipulates. Says, I took him, I buried him, now you need to get him back. And he brings up everything that happened to him and his brother, that you learned about in Six of Crows, but he doesn't remember his brother's name. And he tries, and he's like, just give me my son back, give me my son, give me my son. And so he tells him, eventually, where his son supposedly is. And it turns out that Kaz didn't even touch his son. I've never even seen him. It was a guess that he had a son with lions. It was a guess that it was a son because of the new gambling hall, that the Kalish Prince, which is about the little red-headed boy. And he just knew. He just knew. So the Kalish Prince, the Emerald Palace, the Sweet Shop, and of course the Mangier were all outbreaks for a deadly disease. So most of it has ended. I'm hoping beyond all hope the rest of it is just them wrapping up the story and nothing more. Because I'm on 38. Literally, actually, I went a little further than what I was supposed to, so I'm on 480. So I'm on chapter 38, and there's 45 chapters. So I'm literally this is literally all I have left for reading for tomorrow. And it's only like 46 pages. So I'm looking forward to it, and I'm hoping it wraps up everything nicely, because this is just a duology, so this is the last book in it, and there won't be no more. So I really want it to be, I want it to be wrapped up. I don't want no mysteries left to solve that aren't in it, Yeah, that's just about all I want. Though I have noticed that the one thing she hasn't written about really, or maybe she has, is about the fjords. Because her next one is about Nikolai Lantsov, which is of course back in the Ravka territory. And then you got the Darkland's origin story. So has she not written about the fjords yet? Because she's got quite a few countries that she could probably write more about. But the fjord's been in this. And I think it should, have a lot more in it. So the fjord, the Shuhan, and the Novi Zem. They're the ones that haven't really been talked about. Not really. And I think they should be. Because that's 3 of them that they haven't actually done anything about. Kirsch, which is in Ketterdam. Well, Kirsch, which, of course, everything happens in Ketterdam. And Ravka, which happens in Kribisk, Osa Alta, and Osa Kevra, and also goes to Kirsch. So, yeah, there's, that going on. Hopefully so I'm hoping more comes out, different series, because I like the Grishaverse. I like the way the magic is done and how it has its limitations, and it has ways of breaking the limitations that are deadly consequences. So yeah. Anyways, I will see you guys in the next clip for the ending of it. Hope you guys have enjoyed so far. I have finished Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo, and let me tell you, I understand that some people don't like keeping characters alive. It's a thing I'm coming to grips with Rebecca Yarros. She's a bitch for killing off characters, okay? But the thing is that your endgame's done. It's done. Like, it's done. And all your characters survived. And then you're just gonna go ahead and make it worse? Like, I don't know what to say about that. It's a little disheartening, really. So, the end game from 38 on. So, Matthias rushes with Kuei and a medic to a boat to get them ferried to a hospital. And that boat, of course, is Roddy and Nina, pretending to be pregnant, very pregnant, so that way they can get away. So they take him to a university clinic, and they declare that he's dead, and they won't take his body. And so, after Kuei is left around back for the body men to take away to the barge to burn the body, he's going to the Zetz Bridge, where they would revive Kuei, and he would be with Nina again in future. And then someone, fucking Fjord, a young Driscoll with ice white hair, was there, and he's got a pistol in his hand, and he's charging Matthias with treason. He's like, I am unarmed. And he's like, we haven't met before. He's like, you killed my friend in the raid of the court. I killed no Driscoll. Your companions did. You're a murderer. You humiliated Commander Barm. And he's like, trying to figure things out. It's like, I will go with you. You have my word, and you have the gun. There's nothing to fear from me. And he's like, stay where you are. And, of course, he wants to change his mind. And he's trying to walk forward to the boy. But, he was shot. Okay? Shot. Point blank. Nina, Kaz, Inez both get Kuei, and they go to the Zetz Bridge where they want to revive him. Genya is there, and she's like, nope, nothing. So Zoya decides to use lightning to bring him back, and it works. So yay, he's there. And they're like, where is Matthias? He's supposed to be here, And Kuei's like, yay, I'm alive, right? So they're like, no one will come with Kuei. Nothing will happen. And Genya's like, come with us, Nina. She's like, the job's not over. And Kuei's like, make the walks. So she's like, I'm not what I was, but so he's like, you're a soldier, you're Grisha. Well, we're lucky to have you. So that that's praise. Kaz wants to go check on Waylon. So she says, go, we'll wait here for Matthias. And as they are, he comes along, and he's like, I thought we'd be able to find you in a storm. He cut her cheek, kissed her, and he's like, I needed to see you again. And then that's when they found out that he was shot, and he's dying. And he's like, please, Nina, bury me, go home. He's like, all I want to do is see you again. And he's like, I need you to save the other Driscoll, so with me, you'll at least try to help them, to make them see. He's like, go home to Ravka, Nina, be free, just save some mercy for my people. There has to be a fjord worth saving, promise me. Even death, he says, I'll find a way to protect you. And he's like, bury me so I can go to Gel, his god. Bury me so I can take root and follow the water north. And she's like, I promise I'll take you home. And he's like, Nina, I already am home. And then the light vanished from his eyes. and he died. She didn't have to kill him. She didn't have to. She just, I guess, was unhappy that a fucking loving couple was going to have a good happily ever after. I mean, yes, Waylon and Jesper's going to have a good happily ever after, I really hope. But you couldn't give that to Nina and to Matthias? She tries to bring him back with her new powers. He's not responding the same way. And then Inez is like, just let him go. Just let him go. And Nina's like, in the next life then, go. Farvel. I guess is goodbye. Or farewell. May Delge watch over you until I can once more. So, there's that. And it's a little sad. I mean, it's a lot sad. I thought Matthias was going to have his happy fucking ending with Nina. Just like Waylon and Jasper. Just like Kaz and Inez. And even Kaz and Inez are not going to have their fucking good forever. So terrible. Then you just a very short thing with Matthias again. Him dreaming of her. And he knows he's being welcomed home. He was on the ice once more. And somewhere he could hear the wolves howling. So, Waylon, Jesper, and Elise are still at the church. The Rapcons, the Shoe, and the Ferns are fighting, okay? Yeah, so there's that. So, Waylon's happy, stopped everything they did, but they helped prevent a war. Waylon's like, you can go, I know you must be worried about your father, and he's like, I'm not sure our new pals will let us go. And Ella's like, I'm hungry. And Jean Van Eyck is being arrested, and he's still proclaiming it's Breaker's work. Or it is Breaker's work, but it's so ironclad that nobody will believe it's Breaker's work, obviously. And then the Radmaker's like, for your sake of your family, show some self-control. And he's like, you have me in chains, how can I have self-control? And Ella's like, what's happening? Is he being arrested? And she's like, yep, just go home to, the island estate and just stay there and go home to the countryside, Vanek is like, I'll get you Kaz for this when I get out. And he's like, well, Waylon will be there to devote to your fence or your bail for that matter. How much Waylon will put in. It's like, I wrote him out of my will as soon as ALS conceived. We'll never see a penny money. And of course, Kaz had put in a fake will in Cornelius Meat's vault. So everything goes to Waylon. And of course, he's like, make the boy read, because he can't read. And so, of course, he had read something and heard something and put a tune to it, right? Because something had been read to him and he put a tune to it, because he can put a tune to music to what he's read. And so he reads from a paper, pretends to read from paper. And then it's like, your son's been through it. Radmaker's like, your son's been through enough. And Van Eyck's like, it's a trick. It's another what Breaker's trick. And then Jesper's like, I can read to him. And Waylon's like, he has a very soothing baritone. Van Eyck's screaming, you won't get away with this. My wits are sharper. You don't even know if that's really Waylon. He could be wearing another boy's face. You don't understand. And Raiden's like, he's come undone. So, yeah. There's that. Jesper has promised to not go to the gambling halls and gamble away money. And Waylon's like, to Jess, is like, did you mean what you told my father? Will you stay with me? Will you help? He's like, let's see, live in a luxurious merch mansion, get waited on by servants, spend a little extra time with a budding demolitions expert who plays a mean flute. I guess I can manage it. He's looking at him dumb. But I do charge a pretty steep fee. He's like, well, hopefully the medic will be here to fix my ribs soon. He just is like, yeah. Waylon's like, yes, I'd like to make a down payment. And So, yeah. Okay, so, there was a letter that Waylon got, or I guess something happened. I don't know. He just says he made it and Kaz released a breath. So they knew something had happened. Oh, no, that's not it. They're waiting for them to come along. And he's like, they made it. So they're waiting for him. Inez, Roddy with Kuwei come along. And Nina with Matthias. And they're like, oh, Lord, you know. And Kaz is like, how? And they're like, we still don't know. So they pull him out. And, you know, they honor him. They honor Matthias. No mourners, no funerals. And Glum's like, go on now, say your goodbyes. So they say their goodbyes to Matthias, resting a flower upon his chest one by one. And it's really sad. Camera died. Camera died, dudes. Camera just dies. So I was saying Jesper said that he loved you, Nina, so much. Loving you made him better. So then Kaz is like, well, we have to figure out a way to spend our money. Because Nina's like, I'll take him north to the ice. I'll bury him near the shore. He's like, well, I feel the shoe could manage with 40 million. There's 30 million, 4 million courage each have been put into a separate account for them by the end of the month. Matthias' share will go to Nina. I know money doesn't matter. And he's like, it matters. I'll find a way to make it matter. What will you do with your shares? And Inez says, find a ship, put together a crew. Jesper's like, help run an empire. Waylon's like, try not to run it into the ground. And Kaz is like, build something new, watch it burn. And then, actually, Jesper says, could you put my share in my father's name? I don't think I'm ready for that kind of money just yet. So, there's that. Colm, Nina, Kuwei, Matthias, and Roddy leave through the canals as body men, pretending to be dead. So they can go to the Stromhond's chorus ship, which is, the actual king. So Kaz is now running the Crow Club crew and doing really good work in everything. Of course, Pim says that Rodder has been trying to become more like the spider, and Kaz is like, I don't need a new spider. Well, the rat's been scared. People talk. So he gets a letter. It's from Inez. No, not from Inez. It's from somebody. And he's like, well, I gotta go deliver a letter. So he cuts through, makes a detour, and he gets confronted by the actual tide makers, because apparently because the Ravka were pretending to be the tide makers, and they're asking where Kuwei Yul Bull is, and he's like, dead and gone, burnt. And then they go, we can choke you. I said, I don't know where Yul Kuwei is. You could drown me where I stand and nothing will change that. And then he's like, maybe we'll find your friends and drown them. And maybe you'll find the obelisk tower under plague quarantine. I made those siren sounds. I created this plague and now I control it. And he's like, try me, because they would say a bluff. They won't. And they're like, what if they sit there and surround your tower, lock it down, and make you put out your identity? Because no one knows what the Tide Makers' identities are. It's like, they make you registers. And they're like, the public will actually clamor for action, so they might have no choice but to burn the towers from the ground up. And Karadam is made of monsters, because he's called a monster's boy. I just happen to have the longest teeth. So, they leave after a minute. And he's like, No doubt the Tides would want something from him in the future, and he'd be obliged to give it to him. For now, he had unfinished business. So Inez has been enjoying her time living with Waylon and Jesper and being lazy as fuck. But then she finds Kaz's note. So the next day, she forces herself up, and she goes to meet him, and he's talking, he asks about how everything is, about what Waylon is letting Jesper do, playing the markets. Kaz is like, tell Jesper he's missed around the slap. And then he gives her a long glass, which is basically, what are they fucking called? I don't know. Kaleidoscope? No, not kaleidoscope. Anyways, a long glass, and she looks at Berth 22. Okay, it's a ship, and it's called the Wrath, and it's hers, because Kaz bought it from Waylon for a good price. Spec is her first mate. She's to help her hire crew. And the berth belongs to her too now, so it'll always be there for when she comes back. She's like, well, I'm not done with Ketterdam. I want to get rid of not just the slavers. I want to get rid of the procurers, the customers, the barrel bosses, the politicians. She goes, I'm a barrel boss. But you would never sell someone, Kaz. And she's like, I want to clean this city. She said, one by one. He said, brick by brick. He says, I wasn't made to be a hero, Wraith. You should have learned that by now. You want me to be a better man? A good man? She's like, the city doesn't need a good man. It just needs you. And then she's like, think about it this way. You'll be thinning out the competition. So then he's got one more surprise to look through the long glass. And what she sees, it made me tear up. I mean, her parents. He made a deal with the king, who sent out scouts as part of their deal to find her parents and to bring them to Ketterdam. Kaz might never leave Ketterdam, but he really fucking loves Inez so much that he sat there and got her a boat, got her a berth of ship to moor her boat, and found her fucking parents for her. And they still don't fucking kiss. That's the only bad part. And then you end with Pekka being terrified that people that he's wronged in the past will come after him because Kaz did. And he's also terrified that they'll use his son against him. And then, Inez shows up to give him a warning that if he ever thought about coming back to Ketterdam, they'll meet again, and she'll make the second cut. And he picks his son still asleep in his bed and goes, "Hey guys, just get these two guys out of bed. We're leaving. Start packing our bags, gather up our cash. As far as we can get from Ketterdam, we're gonna go." Because he knows that the Wrath is not joking, and that Kaz will tear everybody apart. He's like, Pekka would count his money. He would raise his son. He'd find himself like a woman or 2 or 10. And maybe, in the quiet hours, he'd raise a glass to the men like him, to his fellow architects of misfortune who had helped raise Breaker and his crew. He'd drink to the whole store, a lot of them, but mostly to the poor fools who didn't know what trouble was coming. 'Cause, you asked for it, Pekka. You messed with the wrong fucking kid. And you got your comeuppance. No joke, you got your comeuppance from that bullshit. So, with that done, we are, officially done with Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo. And it's part of the Six of Crows duology. And I gotta say, the stakes were not nearly as high as they were in the Six of Crows. But it was still a good thrilling read of a heist type deal thing. So I really enjoyed it. My favorite character. Gosh. That is something, huh? I don't like how that does that now, because I read the book. Bend you back in place. There we go. That works better. What would be my favorite character? It's not Kaz. Kaz is a dick and an asshole, but he's okay. Maybe it's Colm, Jesper's father, who only wanted to do the right thing by his son, even if it was to, protect him from using his Grisha powers. Colm still stuck by his son when they, harboring criminals, helping dupe a bunch of merchant councils, smuggling out Kuei's body. So, I think Colm would be my favorite character because he could have been the kind of, wigged out, Xani-infested person. But he wasn't. My most disliked character would be Van Eyck. All he had to do was pay them 30 million courage, and they never would have set up anything in the Six of Crows in the Crooked Kingdom. And Crooked Kingdom's really about Van Eyck's building his empire. That's all it was, because he was building his money empire. So, if you would just, given them their due, you wouldn't have had to fucking worry about none of it. What stood out as memorable? That the people who made the Jurda Perm, Kuei's father, didn't even know the real effects of it. So, yes, they know if you use it, you will crave more of it, and it'll eventually kill you. Especially if you can't survive the withdrawal of it. But what they didn't know is that it can change your powers if you survive the withdrawal. It will change your powers as a Grisha, and you'll become something different. And I'm guessing each one has a different counterpart to it. Ashley was a Corporal Link who was a heart render, which means she could control, hearts. She stopped people's heart, manipulated their bodies and everything. She became a death render who could manipulate the dead bodies instead of the living bodies. So maybe healers and heart renders, that's different. So I don't know. I think that's interesting, and it should totally be explored more, because that's an interesting thing to think about. Changing of their powers to something completely different, and what type of power would it be considered in the Grishaverse world to the Grisha? Because Nina's not a heart render anymore. She can bring the dead to life, use the dead's body, manipulate the dead. Bones and bone dust and anything that was a living person, she can manipulate their deadness of it, which is really weird. Okay, so here we go. My favorite passage. I got this. I did this one. Okay, so Zoa is simply meant blessed. That was a word Jesper's mother used instead of Grisha. Where's Zoa? She would say to Jesper as she made a flower bloom with a flick of her fingers. You and me. Zoa. Blessed. And I think Grisha are blessed. They're blessed to be able to manipulate the world around them, manipulate people. And yes, it could be used for evil things, but it can be used for a lot of great things too. So, yeah, I would say they're blessed. My favorite quote. Now, where the F is it? Oh, yes. I love a little righteous comeuppance. Jogs the liver. Now, it's actually more hilarious because they were on their way to someplace to visit. They thought they were visiting a grave, but they actually visited a woman. And on their way there, they're riding in a wagon, I'm guessing, or something like that. And it was like, the guy was like, jogs the liver. Because, they're being jogged a lot. Oh, yeah. The wagon hit another bone rattling divot in the ground. I don't really need my spleen in one piece. And the farmer's like, it's good for you, jogs the liver. And then Jesper's like, I love a little righteous comeuppance, jogs the liver. I about cracked up when I read that. He used what he was told for a completely different context, and it's hilarious in my book. I don't know, you guys might not find it hilarious. You'd have to read it just to be able to find it hilarious. I hope they get straightened out once I put it back where it belongs. So, what do I thought about the end of the book? Well, for one thing, Bardugo. Listen to me, Lee Bardugo. Why'd you kill Matthias? He didn't need it. He didn't. Okay? He didn't need the death. It was senseless. It was wrong. Shouldn't have done it. Shouldn't have fucking killed him. Just shouldn't. Shouldn't have. Okay? Matthias deserved his happily ever after with Nina. He deserved it. Nina deserved her happily ever after with Matthias. They fought so fucking hard for it. And they had a place at Ravka. The king literally told them to Nina's face, you and your fjord are welcome in Ravka. My God. Like, that's big. Because fjords are not welcome in Ravka because they hunt down Grisha and kill them. But for the king to welcome a fjord, like, mind-blowing. Shows that he knows there could be good fjord. They just need to reach them and undo all the fucking mindfuckery that goes on in their heads when they're trying to become Drusilla, you know? Just really. But I like the fact that Waylon and Jesper get to be together, and that Waylon's going to try to get the high-stakes rolling guy to not bid money away. And Jesper's going to try to not gamble as badly as he does. Inez is still going to go around the world hunting slavers, but she's also going to return to Ketterdam to help Kaz clean up Ketterdam and help Kaz become the only barrel boss, I'm guessing. And of course, Kaz, he loves Inez. You can just tell by the way things ended. Yeah. Just, I'm happy he's going to have Inez, but only infrequently. He's going to wait for her, I guess. I hope. Of course, this is just a duology, so nothing's ever going to happen afterwards. You're never going to know what happened to them. Unless maybe we get some information in King of Scars, which is about the king of Ravka. What book did it remind me of? I've never read heist books like this before, so no book besides Six of Crows. I've never read a heist book before like this. These are the only two heist books I've ever fucking really read, and let me tell you, they're some good heist books, okay? They're good heist books. They're good, okay? This book is, of course, as you know, part of a series called The Six of Crows. There's a duology, so I hope you've enjoyed it. I write this. Oh my God, what am I going to write this as? What am I going to write this as? I think I'm going to write this as a... Yeah, I think I'll write it as a 4.25. It's not completely a 4.5 or a 5 in any way, shape, or form, and I'm knocking it from a 4.5 to a 4.25 because you killed off Matthias. If you left Matthias, it'd be a 4.5. There was some parts of it that I didn't really enjoy all that much. The fuckery with Waylon and Jesper. And the mix up with Kuwait. Why would you make that? Ugh. Okay. Just, ugh. Anyways. And, you know, Inez and Kaz not actually kissing. Like, fuck you. Badly. Like, really. Terrible of you. Okay. So that's why it's a 4.25. I would give it more, but as you know, that's just the way it is. The way it is. Okay. So, if you guys think I deserve a like, comment, or even your lovely subscription, why don't you go ahead and drop it down below. I will see you next illusion.